Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. Today, we're going to get very, very serious about a couple of things. One, the airplane incident where the door ripped off. 3, why the Earth is still flat. We'll also hit you with a couple of Would You Rathers.
All right, door, airplane.
Alaska Airlines.
Was it Alaska?
Had a flight leaving Portland, Oregon, and heading to
Ontario,
California. And at about, I think it was 6 minutes into the flight, or 16 minutes into the flight, something like 16,000 feet in the air on the ascent.
So it was probably 16 minutes into the flight.
Right, yeah. It was right around the time. Actually, I want to say it was like 11 minutes into the flight, something like that. It was very near the peak where it was going to be flying, right? And an entire panel on the side of the plane ripped off and flew out into the night sky while people were sitting. There were people in that row.
Nobody died.
Somehow, amazingly, nothing else ripped off the plane. The pilot turned right back around and went back and landed at Portland, emergency landing, obviously. And Alaska Airlines has now grounded, I believe, all of their flights.
I think it was 70 planes. It was all the affected planes. Yep. It was a certain type of 737.
737-9 MAX.
They're all brand new. They're all just new from the factory.
Which I believe the 737 MAX is the same one that they had multiple horrible crashes. Yes. Like I want to say 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, that plane is doomed.
Okay, I have so many questions. My first question is: You're sitting on that row. Let's say you're even seated in the window seat.
Yep.
There was no one in the window seat, but there's clearly from the video someone in the middle and aisle seats of that same row.
You know what's crazy? All the upholstery got ripped off of that seat. If you look at the seat that was right next to the door that exited, all the upholstery got ripped off. It's just like a naked bare metal seat.
Okay, so let's say you're in that seat.
Yeah.
After the captain turns off the seatbelt sign, my seatbelt is off. So first question, are you normally a window seat person?
The seatbelt sign would have still been on.
Yeah, because they didn't get to altitude.
Okay,
I mean, the beautiful luck here is that they were at 16,000 feet. If they were at 28 or 30,000 feet and they turned off the seatbelt sign, people would have died.
Also, the cabin pressure situation would have been really bad
Way
for
worse.
a lot of people.
Okay.
And the altitude and the temperature would have been a whole different deal because you're talking sub-zero temperature.
Still got to be super cold at 16,000 feet.
For sure.
But do you normally prefer a window seat or an aisle seat?
Okay,
aisle.
I used to be a window person, but about 2 years ago, I changed to be an aisle person because when I sit in a window, I just have to pee the entire time, and that's all I'm thinking about. And then when I sit in the aisle, I never have to pee.
Right.
Just because it's psychosomatic and insane.
And you?
The aisle, because I like it. I don't know.
The only thing I don't like about the aisle is
I like the control. I like the having the control of like, okay, no, like if I want to get up, I can get up.
You like to be the bouncer of the row.
I don't mind getting up for people every time, but I hate asking everyone to get up because half the time you're sitting next to someone who it's a lot of trouble for them to get up, and it's just like you feel bad.
I used to just not get up, and then I would prefer a window, but like. And then I could lean my head against the wall. I could look out the window whenever I wanted to. I was like a big window person. But after this... Okay, second question.
Okay.
As the healthy guys on the plane, it's easier to be in the aisle.
Yeah.
Like if you're asking an old lady to get up out of her seat so you can go to the bathroom.
It's true. Yeah.
Versus her asking you to get up, it's totally
just like if you're a very big person or a very broad-shouldered person, being in the middle is an act of terrorism.
Which is why you shouldn't be allowed to fly on Southwest.
I sat next to. I'm not kidding. I think he was probably 500 pounds, and he sat in the middle seat of a flight one time. And
you're definitely touching that person.
They're
spilling out under the seat.
Even if you're just a broad-shouldered person,
because of it, I could barely get into my seat because he was spilling over so hard into the other seats.
If I sit in a conventional,
he apologized to us as he walked up,
which is not enough. But it's also, I mean, God, it's a little bit of a heartbreaker. It's a real art.
He was really nice about it,
of course,
but he also should have had to have purchased 2 seats.
There's very large seats in the front called first class.
He didn't do that though.
Well,
he should have been required to do that.
I mean, but this is an interesting
They don't
thing.
ask you how much you weigh when you buy your ticket.
They sure don't. And you don't pay. I mean, this is.
You can also weigh
rough.
300 pounds and not be spilling over the seat because you can be 7 feet tall.
Okay,
which
here's
is
the
just
reality.
Your problem.
I'm not trying to fat shame in any kind of way here. I'm just making a mathematical argument. Everything about air travel,
You're math
aside from people, you pay per pound. On some level, like for your checked bags, they're a maximum of 50 pounds. You pay a certain amount because every ounce you put on that plane, more fuel, and that math checks out, right? You pay more weight. But, a 50-pound daughter and someone who's weighs 7 times more than her paid the same amount because they're taking up space. But on a plane, it's not about space. Planes take off with 10 horses in them and 90% capacity because the horses weigh so much, right? It's not about space, it's about weight. And for some reason, people are about space when the math of space doesn't exist.
And it's because of the shaming factor in a customer service environment. It's hard to make that work. It's not an amusement ride where it's like, nah, sorry, you don't get to ride the pirate ship today.
Yeah. It's not a nice to have. It's travel, and sometimes that travel can be required, for health or for family emergency or whatever it may be. I mean, I certainly have a lot of sympathy and empathy for the situation, but also I recognize the hypocrisy and the math of it too.
There is a singular airline, and I don't remember if it's American or United.
Southwest. They're giving people 2 seats now,
but you have to pay for the 2 seats, and they'll refund you back after you completed your flight.
Right? Yeah.
Which on Southwest is weird because it's open seating. So what do? You go sit down.
Oh, I got you.
And then you go, is anybody sitting there? And you go, yeah, me.
Yeah, right.
Or do you just lift the armrest and sit on the 2 seats?
Well, this might be a continuation of what Southwest has always been, which is less of an airline and more of a social experiment. Because the whole egalitarian boarding system is a social experiment. It is, when I have to fly Southwest, I purposely walk past the first 20 rows because your chances of not having someone in the middle seat go up by like 80% if you're past the first 20 rows because they just fill up faster. And I just don't want someone in the middle seat. I'd rather, none of the seats are bigger than each other. If it takes 10 minutes more to deplane, I'd rather not have someone next to me. So I go straight to the back. And then I mad dog people. And just try to get them to not sit next to me.
I totally disagree. So I've only been flying Southwest for the last 4 or 5 months with my employer. And we always board A15 and 16 because he's premium dude. Or 16, 17, right?
Yeah.
So we are always in the second or third row. He's window, I'm aisle. We put our bags in the middle.
Okay.
People naturally don't want, because the bin space fills up in the front first. And if people can't put their bag up, they're like, oh, I'll just keep going. So 90% of the time, even on a very full flight, we get the middle seat to ourselves.
Interesting. Because, people walk by you expecting that there's going to be more open seats. There's not. By that time, they're not going to come all the way to the front.
That's
to
right.
Take a front. Yeah. Well, see, it's still a social experiment. You just have gotten further down you're deeper in the matrix than me.
Yeah, both of you are part of the experiment.
Yes.
You both got methods that you're trying to work.
And so this is what I'm saying. So that was part A of Southwest's social experiment, is this egalitarian boarding thing. And they just got a bunch of cameras in there, and they're just like doing a long-term experiment of seeing how people try to avoid each other. Right. And they're giving all this information to the CIA somehow. This is like some long-term crazy experiment. This whole get 2 seats and refund the other is another part of that experiment, because you are a bigger person. Right. And it's not like, oh, you put yourself in the baggage sizer and you're a big person that deserves 2. It's just you self-identify as a person that needs 2 seats. And so that is, that could be 200 pounds. That could be because you have really broad shoulders. It could be for any reason that you deem that you need 2 seats, right? And so now you're in this really awkward position of people coming up, like you said, and saying like, oh, anyone sitting in the middle? And you say, me. And they're like, oh, window? Oh, me also. Right. And so it's like, it's another part of this insane social experiment that Southwest has created.
Yeah. How do you prove that you did buy the 2 tickets?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could prove that and show that I bought 2 tickets, but they could say like,
that's probably where a flight attendant gets involved. And it's like, can I see your 2 tickets?
Okay. But here's an interesting thing. I would think they had to have clear this with the NTSB, the Transportation Safety Board, because you can't buy 2 tickets on the same airline for the same flight. You can't do that. It is like a thing you can't do. You have to have 2 distinct names for
Oh,
seats.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's like a rule. Because I remember trying to do it before on Delta, and they were like, no, you have to have a name per seat. There has to be a person with a social security number attached to that seat. You can't just have.
Well, could you, as being a married guy, could you buy a flight for your wife if you just wanted the extra space, and then she just doesn't show up for her flight? They can't sell that ticket to someone else.
I think
They can
fill
because
the,
she doesn't check in. If she, I mean, I suppose you could check her in, but
Right.
Check her in online.
they can fill that seat.
They can,
in
yes.
the moment though.
With a
when,
standby.
When they go, well, we're about to close the door. She's not here.
because it counts.
And
it
we've
counts
got a situation back here that we would
Yes.
like to put this
when
in.
they scan the boarding pass, that's what gives you the actual manifesto of who actually got on the
Yeah,
plane. It's
that-
not the purchased tickets; it's who scanned a ticket at the gate and made, or at the jetway and made their way onto the plane.
That's where like a pilot gets like there are this many souls on board.
Exactly right.
Like that's
And so and this is why you can't buy two, or at least historically you couldn't buy two tickets, because it messes that whole system up. Because you check in, you may check both of those tickets, but then the pilot has to get this information of like there's 89 seats filled, but there's 81 souls on board. And that's a much more complicated thing to track, right? Because 8 people have double seating, right?
Right.
And so there had to be some kind of, they had to go, what I'm trying to say is, they couldn't just say one day in the marketing office, like, this would be a great thing to do. People will appreciate it. It'll increase our brand love, all of that. They had to go through some fucking hoops to make this happen.
That's interesting.
And it's ultimately going to be a social experiment because there's not assigned seats on Southwest.
I hate that so much.
Oh, it's crazy.
I hate
a crazy thing.
I hate the lining up because now I have to go 1, 2, 3. I count and I go, I think I should fit right about in here. And if I'm 25 and 26 and 27 are in front of me, I don't care. I don't care if there's 2 more people in front of me. I don't want to talk to those people.
Well, you know, all right, the egalitarian social experiment breaks down immediately when you're at the gate, right? Because you line up according to your status, your social status, right? They haven't erased the caste system at Southwest because they have to employ it at boarding, right? And then all of a sudden you're egalitarian on the jetway with your caste system, so to speak, right? And so it's like it's this very weird fucking mind game that they're playing. That they're like,
well, I mean, that's,
you have a premium.
That's also every flight because
it is, but that continues.
Group A in any.
But that
airline.
continues on. So this is the interesting thing. The value to Southwest is that it makes it a lot easier to reseat people, because when someone says, "Hey, I can't be in the exit row, I refuse," they can go to anyone on the plane and say, you have to take that seat.
Right.
And that person can't say, no, I paid for 24F, motherfucker. They say, no, you paid to be on this plane. I'll tell you where you sit.
Yeah.
And that's the real value to them, is that they can expedite reseating people, I think. But
Plus, it's also it's a financial thing, right? So A 1 through 15 are for their like business select.
yeah,
You
right.
pay twice the fee, but you get the board, or you have brand loyalty and you have the points, right? In my case, with my employer, he's got millions and millions of miles. He's been flying Southwest for 12 years, 50, 60, 100 times a year. But he's still not in that A1 to 15. He's always A16.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So people have paid extra money to be A1 through 15. Now, the flying home from Indianapolis, right? My flight was at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning. I got up at 5:45 on Sunday morning to check in. And I set an alarm and boom, 24 hours on the dot, checked in. I still got B30
Yeah, right.
because
People get automatically checked in.
other people, they sell early bird check-in for $15. And if you have a 6 o'clock flight
Yeah.
and you don't want to get up at 6 the day before, you pay $15 and
Well,
you automatically get an A.
Okay,
And I
let's-
didn't do that.
Let's move on from Southwest to Spirit. Have you ever flown Spirit before?
I have not and I will not.
Spirit is fucking insanity. It's like you pay one price and that gets you on the plane, not an assigned seat, not a carry-on, let alone a check bag.
No bags.
You pay for everything. You pay an additional amount for your seat. You pay an additional amount for a carry-on. You pay an additional amount for checked bags.
For a snack.
Everything for a snack, for drinks, nothing.
Oh,
is
that's right. They don't
included.
even have snacks, right?
I don't know, honestly. I haven't flown.
Some doesn't
I flew
end up
Spirit
being
once.
I had,
cheaper,
I
but
had a
if-
friend who said he couldn't even lean his seat back on his Spirit flight.
It's like a coin operated lean. You got to put a quarter in to
That's so
lean your
funny.
seat back. You know what I think? Here's an idea, because you leaning your seat back has a direct negative impact on the person behind
Yes.
you in a serious
I am
way.
not a fan of how far the seats lean back.
It's
on
insane. I
flights.
mean, honestly, they shouldn't lean back. I never recline my seat unless I'm in first class, because it's disgusting. frankly.
it's so rough on the person behind you.
And what they should do is when the moment you press that button and you recline it, it gives the person behind you a $15 flight credit. That's what they should do.
And then everyone would get on and go, hey, put your seat back. Let's all get these credits.
Totally. I'll put it right back up, but let's just fuck this airline.
Keep going. Give me a $30 credit.
Yeah, but I mean, an airplane, because the space is at such a premium, every positive thing you have is a negative thing for someone else. We talked about this earlier. For you to have, someone has to have not. For you to have your air and your space and to be able to lean forward and reach into your bag, the person in front of you has to make the conscious decision not to recline into your personal space.
So if you're in the aisle where the panel rips off,
okay, yeah, go on,
and you don't have your seatbelt on, it's just a given that you're going out the door.
I don't know if it's a given because I don't know what the physics are really of that suction and
So,
decompression, but
I think higher up, so a couple
more of a
other
given.
people would have gotten sucked out, right?
Yeah.
No one got sucked out in this case, but it's probably because that one seat was empty.
Okay. Let's
I
say
don't know though. I think if they were buckled, they would have been fine. I think they might have frozen to death or might have gotten hypothermia. But
No, because none of them were injured.
Well, because I think if someone was in that seat, they would have been all right. I think they would have been injured, but I don't think they would have gotten sucked out because the seat was intact, right? And so like if they were buckled,
it would have been really bad.
Really
but
rough.
you said that the upholstery was ripped off. So does that mean your clothing would have been ripped off?
A kid's shirt got ripped, or a couple people's shirts got ripped off. They like got ripped off of their bodies and flew out the
dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And a couple phones too. They recovered them in the debris field.
The craziest part about that video to me is there's someone sitting in that aisle who's just kind of like completely still sitting there like, well, this is rough. This is a pretty bad flight. Like it's unbelievable what's happening, and that you can see the stars in the sky outside, and some dude's just like, whew, it's a pretty bad flight. I'm looking forward to getting home right now.
probably from shock.
Yeah. I mean, he's just sitting still, and it's crazy, like unimaginable to sit there with like knowing that the plane could just keep ripping apart.
But you know,
Okay,
there's
how about this?
There's so many different degrees of neuroticism. That guy could have just been thinking about, oh fuck, I'm supposed to check into the Courtyard Marriott. Do you think that they'll refund me for the night?
I mean,
that's all he's
he
thinking
could have been
about.
sitting there
He's like,
thinking, oh, this video is going to go viral, or I didn't get a haircut today.
yeah,
You know, like,
he'd be like, I'm not going to move my head so no one notices my bad haircut.
All right, how about this? You're the pilot. You know that the panel ripped off on the left side of the plane.
Yep.
So when you bank to turn around, do you go?
God,
do you go
you
left?
do right-hand turns only.
Yeah, you have
do
to.
right-hand
you
turns
become
only.
a UPS driver real quick.
Yeah, you have
you
to.
become an opposite of a NASCAR driver. You only turn right.
Right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think you can even see it like tipping. Like you would never like.
No,
Dump
God,
everybody
that would be-
out, right?
Well, I don't think you could dump
Imagine
anyone out,
sitting
but
in that
just-
aisle at that point. You're like,
I mean, it would just be your chances of getting sued for PTSD and all the other things go up by 10,000% the moment you turn left.
But do you then bank the plane a little bit to make sure
Probably.
the whole ride home until you flatten
You
out to
probably
land?
hit the rudders and you're
tip
15
it-
degrees to the right the
Yeah.
whole way, I would think. Because I mean,
something like that.
the idea of looking down and gravity pulling you towards
also
that
like
hole,
somebody drops something and it just rolls out or something. You know, like you'd want to.
what
just
a terrifying experience!
Dude,
Holy fuck!
Would you ever fly again?
Well, no. Okay. Yes, I would. But you want to know the crazy thing? Here's the crazy thing. So far, Alaska has made a couple concessions for those on the flight out of the kindness of their heart. These concessions include $1,500
Per person.
per person on the flight. And also, they made that announcement. 2 days later, they made another announcement because they were like,
This went viral. It's
not-
looking bad.
That's not quite enough.
We didn't know anyone had good video. of this.
And so this is not a joke. This isn't exactly verbatim, but it's pretty damn close. When you feel comfortable to fly again, you will have free snacks and free drinks.
free snacks.
Is that not fucking
serious?
hilarious?
Oh
For
my
serious. Their first move was $1,500 a person. Their second move was
Pretzels.
that wasn't enough.
Pretzels.
Pretzels and Coke.
What is wrong with people that work in marketing departments?
It's crazy, man.
Okay.
It really is
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
How about this?
Wow.
If you accept that money, it probably comes with a contract that says you're not going to sue.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, you should never accept anything like that or sign anything like that after an event.
Those
like that.
folks should sue, and some of them, especially the people sitting near that, will probably get a lot of money.
Yeah, I would hope that someone, the real hero on that plane, once it landed and everyone's safe, the real hero on that plane stands up while they're still taxiing on the jetway and says, "Hey everyone, no one sign anything. Don't accept any vouchers. Don't accept anything from this airline." Public service announcement.
I'm going to get your emails.
That's the hero on that plane. Yeah. Is the one that stands up and says that and reminds everyone of that.
Yeah.
I'm an attorney, everybody.
Yeah, actually, maybe that's what the guy in the aisle was thinking, is like, I'm going to be rich when this lands.
That's true.
If I don't make it, so what? If I do make it, I'm loaded.
Yeah.
Alaska
I don't know about
Airlines.
loaded. I don't know about loaded because I don't,
But you should be able to buy a car with the money
for sure.
That pain and
pay off your house.
That pain and suffering is enough for at least a nice car.
What would the value be of all the flights you're going to take for the rest of your life?
Oh, and like you not being able to take them anymore because this impacted you in such a way.
That
or
for
pain and
someone
suffering?
whose job it is to fly, like for
Yeah.
you, like if that were to
You could
happen
say
to you,
salary for the next 30 years, my earning potential has been negatively impacted because I can no longer travel because of this incident.
we could all get away with it. It's too bad none of us were on that flight.
I know, man.
Dude, I fly. You fly a lot. I fly a lot.
I see planes every day.
You work at the airport.
Yeah.
But let's say you made that argument, right? And let's just say for easy math, you make $100,000 a year traveling, right? And let's say that your earning potential, if you have to like downgrade into a position that doesn't include travel, you make $80,000 a year, right? So it's a 20% salary cut or earning potential.
But let's say that means you have to then move. And let's say that means then you can't take your kids to college.
Okay, I mean, totally. But also, in the eyes of the law, they're not going to recognize that stuff. They're going to recognize the math of the salary cut. So if you said, let's just say $100,000 for easy math, because let's just say the average household income on that plane is $100,000, just for easy math. So if you said $20,000 gets knocked off of my earning potential per year, I have 30 years left on my earning potential until I reach retirement age. What that really means is 30 times 20, right? Times 1,000, right? So it's
$600,000.
So it's $600,000. That would be like your cap on that claim, right?
That's reasonable.
And I think that's probably the
then
reality.
Then there's genuine pain and suffering for that event,
Which is usually 12 times.
12 times what?
The settlement amount is pain and suffering is up to 12 times what you were normally going to sue for. So if your damages were $50,000, then you can sue for 12 times.
Okay, so let's assume that you're on the low end $15,000 and on the high end $7.2 million. So it's somewhere in between that.
Times what? There's definitely wasn't anybody in that seat. Planes hold 180 people. So the total damages is, it's right around 100 million.
Yeah, I mean, there was like 130 people.
Well, and now they've got planes that they can't fly right now.
Oh, so that's the big damage. Plus the stock price must be on the shitter.
The amount of flights they just canceled is the real problem. And stock.
But if you're investing in airplane stock, you're a fucking moron anyway. You get bailed out every 6 years.
Isn't Alaska Airlines owned by, I want to say United or
something like that?
I think, I don't know. I thought Alaska bought Virgin America. I know that they did actually.
That sounds right.
Years ago, because Virgin Atlantic is still its own thing, but they bought Virgin America.
I thought one of the bigger ones bought Alaska.
No, that could be true. They could be like a Star Alliance airline or something owned by like the, United Group or some shit like that. They're all owned by BlackRock.
Everything's owned, or Vanguard. Here's what I'm really trying to get at. You're in the aisle, whether it's the window seat, the middle, whatever, and you have your seatbelt on. Do you try and make an attempt to unbuckle your seatbelt and get out of that aisle?
You sure don't. You stay the course. You keep that fucking seatbelt on.
But what if the whole thing comes loose and the whole...
I think that's highly unlikely. I'm not an airplane, engineer, but
if it got turbulent, you definitely want your seatbelt on in that scenario, though.
Yeah, I think no matter where you're sitting,
are you also gripping the seat in front of you?
For sure,
absolutely,
100,000%.
And the seat you're in, and everything you can hold on to.
And if the guy in front of you is dumb enough to not have a seatbelt on, you grab his fucking seatbelt and you wrap it around your fucking hand,
and he gets sucked out over.
You take whatever you do, whatever it fucking takes to get yourself wired into that plane.
You throw somebody else out.
Yeah.
For fun.
And if you can make a break for it, you sprint and you lock yourself in the front lavatory. Because I mean that's probably the safest place to be.
I mean
or the cockpit.
The cockpit is typically,
but you're not getting in there.
You almost never hear about the pilots dying in the crash.
They're the one flying. It's kind of like if you're in a car accident.
Yeah,
a lot of times the driver accidentally, the driver like naturally, instinctually is going to make a move to save themselves without thinking about everyone in the car.
They're going to save the left
Same
side
thing
of
with
the
a
car.
Plus, when you land a plane, you drag the ass first. So that's why the cockpit always lands.
Most of the time. And even if they're coming down like this, they're trying to pull it up. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, moving on from planes.
That's
Anxious stuff. We had some turbulence coming out of Seattle today. And I do have to also going from LAX to Seattle 2 days ago, I was one of 12 people in the exit rows. 5 people moved out of the exit row during the boarding procedure. I bet. Everyone landed in their seat and then was looking around. No one was talking about it as far as I could hear. The first person raised their hand. They were like, "Can I be reseated?" And she was like, "Cool." Next person does it. Next person does it.
Wait.
Next person does it.
Run that back. Was it a layover?
No. It was originating in LAX. And
it was right after that went viral.
It was right after the Alaska thing. And so people bought an exit row seat. I bought an exit row seat because I always take the exit row if I can't get into first class.
But what I heard was that it wasn't the exit row panel that flew off. It was just a full panel.
Oh no, it was an
the plane.
It was an exit row.
Was it?
Yeah, they call it the plug.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
It's not actually meant to be a door, right?
No, I think it is.
It's like it's only an emergency door.
Yes, right. Yeah.
The whole thing. The whole plug popped out. The whole door. It's got the
whole panel.
It's got the slide in it and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was the exit row. It was the exit row door that popped out. They call it a plug, but it's the fucking exit row door. So everyone's scared of exit rows. They shouldn't be though, because what's the safest date?
Everyone lived.
What's the safest date to fly?
September 11th.
That's right. What's the safest row to fly in?
The exit row.
That's right. Moving on.
I don't get
it. Because it's 9/11 is now the safest day because everyone's looking at it, right? Mm-hmm. The exit row is now the safest because everyone is rechecking their exit row hardware. Because what happened with those exit rows is the 737 MAX, the hardware has been loosening over time. And that's what happened. And so they've grounded all those planes, pulled all those doors off, and they realized that like 60% of the hardware is loose, and it's a ticking time bomb.
If you're wondering how that happened, the Boeing documentary you can probably find on Netflix or Amazon Prime is great to explain how Boeing cut costs by cutting labor, and that's why all of this happened. It's Boeing's fault, 100%. This is not Alaska Airlines.
How about but I don't think anybody's blaming Alaska. They're going to take the bite for it. But how about
I will.
They're going to pass the savings on to Boeing. But.
I will say that Alaska is going to take a hit too because they have a lot of documented issues around cutting costs on maintenance. Alaska has had a handful of issues,
and they are not owned by a larger airline.
Yeah, they're independent.
It's them and another regional are owned by a group called Alaska Air or something.
They and Horizon, I think.
Am I wrong of thinking that the plugs are usually over the wing? Do you get out and then get on the wing, or does it have to be clear of the wing? So
it has to be clear of the wing, so then in a water landing, that's the slide.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. And so that in a ground landing where you have to exit, like if the plane's on fire or something, you don't walk out onto the wing and then have to fall to your death 25 feet off the wing. They
can pull stairs up to it and that kind of thing.
It's usually forward of the wing because if it was,
which is weird because then you go right into the engine.
Sure, yeah, I guess. But
well, that's been 30 minutes on plane terror.
What else did we have? We had some other things.
Well, that's 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So would you rather fly Spirit or Alaska?
Oh, God, that's hard. Say that again real quick. So to the camera.
Would you rather fly Spirit Airlines or Alaska Airlines?
Like I said, September 11th is the safest date. Right now, Alaska might be the safest airline because they are going hot and heavy. Their insurance company is paying for a bunch of extra maintenance. They're looking over every fucking little bit because if they have another incident in a certain amount of time, the NTSB will probably ground their entire air fleet and they will go out of business. So there's probably no safer airline to fly on.
And even if they weren't, even if they were the most dangerous airline, still not flying Spirit.
Dude, I'd rather be shot out of a fucking cannon from LAX to JFK than fly fucking Spirit.
I'd rather fall out of an Alaskan airplane than fly in a Spirit airplane.
I'd rather take a fucking hot air balloon to JFK.
All right. On that note, thanks for watching and listening. For Nicholas Piatt and Alex Sivers, I'm Isaac Abrams. Thanks for watching. Are You Serious? We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
This show's a piece of shit.